Trust. Ha! Isn't that the sweetest lie ever sold to mankind? From the moment you're born, they whisper it into your ears like a lullaby. Trust your parents, trust your teachers, trust your friends, trust the system. Every story, every fairy tale, every moral lesson, they all have one rotten seed at the center. Trust is good, trust is noble, trust makes you human. But I'll tell you something they won't. Trust is the perfect setup. It's the first rope they tie around your neck before they tighten the noose. And the funniest part, you put the rope there yourself. Look around. Society is built on the illusion of trust. Banks beg you to trust them with your money. Politicians beg you to trust them with your future. Lovers beg you to trust them with your heart. And what happens? Every time, without fail, they take what you gave them and burn it to ashes. And you're left staring at the flames, wondering how it happened again. That's the joke! You already knew it would happen. Deep down you felt it, that hesitation, that small voice inside that whispered, "Don't do it. Don't believe them." But you ignored it. Why? Because the world taught you that doubt is evil, suspicion is toxic, and trust is holy. Oh, how convenient for the liars! How convenient for the manipulators! They made trust a virtue, so you'd wear it proudly like a badge, and then stab. Right in the back, think about it. Every wound you carry, every betrayal, every heartbreak, it all started with trust. You trusted a friend with your secret, and they spread it like wildfire. You trusted a partner with your love, and they shattered it into dust. You trusted your family with your dreams, and they laughed in your face. Every time you trusted, you handed someone the weapon they used to destroy you. And still, you call it a virtue. Ha! No, trust is not a virtue. It's suicide with a smile. You want to know why people preach trust so much? Because it keeps you weak. The world doesn't reward innocence, it devours it. Trust makes you predictable, soft, easy to control. The sheep trust the shepherd, right? They trust him to lead them safely. But what they forget is that the shepherd also leads them to slaughter. And the sheep never question it, because trust told them not to. That's the real lie. They don't want you strong. They don't want you sharp. They want you blind. They want you to keep believing in this beautiful, poisonous word, trust. Because the moment you stop trusting, the game changes. You see through the masks, you see the lies. You see the knife before it strikes. But people don't want to see. Oh no, they'd rather stay blind because truth hurts more than betrayal. Truth says no one is safe, no one is pure, no one deserves blind faith. And that's terrifying, isn't it? To realize you're alone in a world full of actors. That's why they cling to trust. It's not faith, it's fear. You fear loneliness, so you trust people who don't deserve it. You fear rejection, so you hand your loyalty to people who mock it. You fear pain, so you run into the arms of the very people who will hurt you. Trust isn't strength. It's weakness wearing a halo. And here's the punchline. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows trust is dangerous. They've been betrayed before. They've been lied to, cheated on, abandoned. They cried, they broke, they swore, never again. And then they trusted again. Why? Because they're addicted to the lie. Like a gambler who loses every bet, but keeps rolling the dice, hoping this time will be different. But it's never different. The dice are rigged. The game is fixed. And trust is the dealer smiling while he robs you blind. You want to know the truth. Trust is a fairy tale told to children so they grow up as obedient adults. Trust is a leash, and you've been wearing it your whole life proudly, like it makes you noble. But noble men don't survive. They're remembered in books and tragedies as martyrs, as fools who believe too much. Kings die because they trusted advisors. Empires fall because they trusted allies. Families break because they trusted blood. So tell me, what makes you think you're any different? No, trust isn't your friend. It never was. It's a lie sold by those who benefit from your blindness. And the sooner you see it, the sooner you laugh at it, the stronger you become. Because once you understand the joke, no one can play it on you again. You'll watch them smile at you. You'll hear their promises, and inside, you'll laugh. Because you'll already know behind every smile is a mask, behind every promise is a lie, and behind every outstretched hand is a knife. And when you know that, when you accept that, trust dies. But in its death, you're reborn, sharper, colder, free. Because only fools trust, And I don't play the fool anymore. Trust, the sweetest lie, the deadliest mistake. And yet people keep falling for it. That's why I laugh. Because while they keep bowing to the lie, I stand above it. While they keep handing over their hearts, I sharpen mine into a blade. And when the betrayal comes, as it always does, I'm already ready. That's why trust is the worst mistake you can make. Because it's the only mistake you can make again and again and never learn. Everyone wears a mask. That's the truth nobody admits, but everybody knows. You think you know your friends, your family, your lover. No, you know the mask they choose to show you. That's it, nothing more. Behind the smiles, behind the kindness, behind the sweet words, there's always something else. Greed, envy, hatred, weakness. A secret they'll never confess. People are terrified of being seen for what they are, so they build masks out of charm, politeness, and fake promises. And you fall for it every time, don't you? Because you want to believe. You want to believe people are good. You want to believe their smiles are honest. You want to believe they mean the words they say. But belief is a drug and masks are the dealers. The world is nothing but a masquerade ball. A dance of liars, a stage full of actors. They all play roles that suit them: the loyal friend, the loving partner, the supportive family, the trustworthy leader. But underneath, the friend envies your success. The partner desires someone else. The family member wants to control you. The leader only sees you as a pawn. The mask is a shield. It protects their secrets while it blinds you. You laugh with them. You share your secrets with them. You lower your guard. And all the while, their mask never cracks. Until the day it does. And when it does, when you finally glimpse the truth hiding behind it, it's too late. The knife is already in your back. You see, masks don't fall by accident. People let them slip only when they're finished with you, when they've taken what they wanted, when you've served your purpose. That's when you finally see who they are. And then you wonder, how could they do this to me? How could they lie? How could they betray? The answer is simple. They were always like that. You just fell for the mask. That's the problem with trust. You don't trust people, you trust the mask they wear. And that mask is designed to deceive. The softest smile can hide the sharpest blade. The kindest voice can hide the cruelest intentions. The warmest embrace can hide the coldest heart. And still, people keep falling. They keep telling themselves, no, not this one. This one is different. This one is real. Until the mask shatters and they're left bleeding. The greatest actors in the world aren't on stage or on screens. They're walking beside you every day, pretending to care, pretending to support, pretending to love. They've mastered the art of masks better than any performer could. And you're the audience clapping for their performance, blind to the fact that you're the one paying the price. You think you're smart enough to see through masks. That's the funniest part. Everyone thinks that. Everyone believes they can tell who's real and who's fake. But masks are clever. Masks don't crack easily. And when they do, you don't see it because you don't want to. You close your eyes to the truth because the lie feels safer. It's easier to believe in the mask than to accept the monster behind it. And monsters, they're everywhere. But they don't look like monsters. They don't roar. They don't bare their teeth. They smile, they whisper, they promise. And you, desperate for comfort, desperate for belonging, invite them in. And once they're in, they never leave without taking a piece of you. That's why people get destroyed again and again. Not because the world is cruel, though it is. Not because betrayal is rare, it's constant. They get destroyed because they want the mask to be real. They want the lie to be true. They choose the illusion over the reality, and illusions always break the truth. You will never meet someone without a mask. Never. Every single person you know is hiding something. Maybe it's small, maybe it's deadly, but it's there. A secret they'll never tell, a thought they'll never admit, a shadow they'll never reveal. And if you think you're the exception, if you think someone shows you their real face, you're already fooled. Because the mask isn't just for protection. It's a weapon. It gives people power over you. As long as you believe the mask, they control you. They decide what you see, what you feel, what you give. And when the time comes, they'll use it to drain you dry. So what do? Do you stop trusting? Do you rip off every mask you see? Maybe. Or maybe you learn to wear a mask of your own. maybe you learn the game. Because in a world full of masks, the one who refuses to wear one doesn't look brave. He looks vulnerable. He looks weak. And weakness is blood in the water. Everyone wears a mask. The smart ones know it. The powerful ones master it. The fools deny it, pretending the mask is the face. And those fools, they're the ones who suffer the most. So stop asking who you can trust. Stop asking who's real. The answer is no one. The mask is the only reality you'll ever see. And if you don't learn to see through it, if you don't learn to play with it, you'll always be the victim of it. That's the great irony of life. The world tells you to trust people, but the world itself is nothing but a theater of deception. Everyone is performing, everyone is acting, and the script is always the same. You're the one who gets betrayed in the end. The mask smiles. You believe it. You give your heart, your loyalty, your soul. And then the mask drops and you realize you were never looking at a friend or a lover or a savior. You were staring at a monster dressed in skin, waiting for the moment you'd hand over the blade yourself. Everyone wears a mask. Remember that. Etch it into your bones. Because the moment you forget it, the moment you let yourself believe the mask is real, that's the moment you're destroyed. Betrayal, the oldest trick in the book. Older than war, older than kingdoms, older than love. Every story you've ever heard, every tragedy, every downfall, it begins the same way. Not with enemies, with friends, with allies, with someone trusted. The knife never hurts when it comes from a stranger. It only shatters when it comes from the hand you once held. That's the cruel comedy of life. Enemies can't betray you. Only the people you trusted can. Only the people you loved, the ones you called family, the ones you swore would never hurt you. They're the ones who do the damage. Because betrayal isn't about strangers, it's about closeness. The closer they are, the deeper they can cut. History repeats this lesson again and again, but nobody listens. Kings stabbed in their sleep by their own guards. Leaders poisoned by their own advisors. Lovers destroyed by the very ones they worshipped. It's always the same. The world doesn't collapse because of enemies storming the gates. It collapses because the gates were opened from the inside. And yet, people still cling to this naive belief. Not them, not my friend, not my partner, not my family. That's exactly what every fool thought before the knife twisted in their back. That's what makes betrayal so powerful. It's not just the wound, it's the shock, the disbelief. The realization that the one person you trusted most was the one person sharpening the blade. And you wonder why it hurts so much. It hurts because you gave them access to your heart. You gave them the map to your weaknesses. You told them your secrets, your fears, your dreams. And when the time came, they didn't hesitate. They used every piece of you against you. That's betrayal, the weapon built out of your own trust. The funny thing, betrayal doesn't surprise me anymore. It's expected. It's inevitable. People are selfish by nature. Greed, envy, lust, pride, it drives them all. And when the moment comes where their desire outweighs their loyalty, they will choose themselves every time. They'll throw you to the wolves to save their own skin. They'll sell your soul for a taste of power, a fleeting advantage, a moment of pleasure. That's not the exception. That's the rule. But you still pretend betrayal is rare. You act shocked when it happens. You ask, how could they? I'll tell you how. They always could. You just didn't want to see it. You blinded yourself because you wanted the lie more than the truth. You wanted to believe in loyalty and honesty, in love that never breaks. But reality doesn't care what you want. Reality laughs while the blade slides between your ribs. And here's the darkest truth. Betrayal is addictive. Not for the victim, but for the betrayer. Once someone tastes the power of betrayal, they crave it again. The thrill of outsmarting, the high of control, the rush of taking advantage. It feeds something primal inside them. That's why betrayal isn't an accident. It's a choice, a hunger, a habit that never dies. You can forgive them once, twice, 100 times. You can tell yourself they didn't mean it, they'll change, they love me. But betrayal doesn't vanish with apology. Once someone betrays you, they've shown you who they are. They've unmasked themselves. And if you keep letting them close, don't be surprised when the knife keeps finding your back. Because betrayal doesn't stop, it repeats over and over, until you finally learn the lesson. And that lesson is simple: betrayal is the most predictable act in human nature. Don't ask if it will happen, ask when. Don't ask who is capable, ask who isn't. The truth: nobody is immune. Anyone can betray you if the right price is offered. Loyalty has limits. Fear, greed, envy, they break every bond eventually. That's why betrayal is the oldest trick, because it always works. Think of your own life. Who betrayed you? A friend who gossiped, a lover who lied, a family member who abandoned you. And yet, after the wound healed, didn't you trust again? Didn't you let someone else in? That's the cycle. You keep playing the same game, expecting a different ending, but the ending never changes. The knife always comes, the trick always works. And here's the real sting: you betray too. Don't deny it. You've lied. You've broken promises. You've hurt people who trusted you. Maybe not out of malice, maybe out of weakness, maybe out of fear. But you've done it. We all have. Betrayal isn't just what happens to us, it's what we do. That's why it's universal. That's why it never ends. So stop pretending betrayal is rare. Stop acting surprised. Stop crying over the wound like it's something unnatural. It's not. It's the most natural thing in the world. People betray because that's who they are. Because survival means choosing themselves over you. Because desire means sacrificing loyalty. Because fear means abandoning love. The only real question is, what will you do with that knowledge? Will you keep trusting, keep opening your heart, keep letting the knife in? Or will you accept the truth? That betrayal isn't the exception, it's the expectation. That trust isn't noble, it's suicidal. That the only way to stop being destroyed is to stop giving people the power to destroy you. Betrayal is the oldest trick in the book, and the saddest part: the book never changes. Different faces, different names, same story. You trust, they betray, you bleed, they laugh, and you foolishly believe it won't happen again. But it will. It always will. Because betrayal is not an accident. It's not a mistake. It's human nature. And as long as humans wear masks, as long as they hunger, as long as they fear, betrayal will be waiting. Trust is not strength. Trust is weakness disguised as virtue. The world has tricked you into believing otherwise, but let's tear the mask off that lie. Every time you trust, you're opening a door into yourself. You're handing someone the keys to your heart, your mind, your life. You're showing them where you bleed, where you break, where you shatter. And you think that's noble. No, that's weakness. That's self-destruction wearing a smile. Look at the predators of the world. Do they trust their prey? No, they study it. They stalk it. They wait for the perfect moment to strike. Meanwhile, the prey believes the world is safe. The prey trusts the silence of the forest, the stillness of the night. And then the teeth sink in. That's trust in action. That's trust as weakness. The prey dies because it trusted. The predator survives because it didn't. Trust makes you predictable. Predictability makes you vulnerable. Once people know what you believe, what you hope for, what you cling to, they can control you. They can play you like a puppet. They promise what you want to hear. They act the way you want them to act, and you fall for it. They smile, you relax. They promise, you obey. They lie, and you call it truth because it comforts you. That's not strength. That's not courage. That's weakness. Do you know why con artists thrive? Because trust is weakness. Do you know why betrayal feels like death? Because trust is weakness. Do you know why the most dangerous people in history were never the ones who trusted easily? Because trust is weakness. And yet you keep telling yourself it's noble, it's human, it's good. Here's the harsh truth: the world does not reward trust. It punishes it. The more you trust, the more you get used. The more you believe, the more you get played. Innocence isn't respected, it's exploited. Trust isn't cherished, it's abused. People don't see your open heart and think, how beautiful. They see it and think, how easy. That's the part no one wants to admit. You weren't betrayed because they were evil. You were betrayed because you were weak. You gave them the opening. You let them in. You handed them the blade and then acted surprised when they used it. That's what trust does. It paints a target on your back, and the world loves easy targets. Businessmen prey on the trust of consumers. Politicians prey on the trust of voters. Lovers prey on the trust of hearts desperate to believe. It's a cycle of exploitation, and it keeps spinning because people keep insisting trust is a virtue. They cling to it because the alternative, accepting that trust is suicide, is too terrifying. But here's the secret: once you accept it, you stop being prey. When you stop trusting blindly, when you stop handing people your weaknesses, you stop being controlled. You stop being predictable. You stop being an easy target. The moment you learn to doubt, to question, to guard yourself, you shift from prey to predator. That's the power of distrust. That's the strength in suspicion. The world calls it paranoia. They laugh at people who don't trust. They say, "You're too cold, too closed, too cynical." Of course they say that. Of course they want you open and soft and trusting, because that's when they can use you. That's when they can feed on you. They shame you for not trusting because your suspicion makes you harder to control. Think about it. How many times has your trust been rewarded? And how many times has it been shattered? Be honest. Count them. The scale is not balanced. It never was. Trust doesn't make you stronger. It makes you weaker. Distrust, suspicion, caution. Those are survival. Those are power. You want an example? Look at predators in the wild. They survive not because they trust, but because they doubt everything. Every sound, every shadow, every movement. They treat it as danger until proven safe. That's why they live. Meanwhile, the prey trusts the grass will stay still. Trusts the silence means safety. Trust that today is just another day, and then it dies. That's the difference. Trust kills. Doubt saves. So why do you keep trusting? Because you're scared. Scared of loneliness, scared of isolation, scared of admitting that nobody is truly safe. Trust is your comfort blanket, your false sense of security. You cling to it because you're weak. But comfort is not safety. Illusion is not protection. Weakness is not strength. The world will keep telling you trust is beautiful, but beauty doesn't keep you alive. Strength does. And trust is not strength. Trust is weakness. It always was. It always will be. The strongest people aren't the ones who trust easily. They're the ones who guard themselves, who see through lies, who expect betrayal before it comes. So ask yourself, are you strong or are you weak? Are you the predator who doubts or the prey who trusts? Because every time you trust blindly, every time you hand someone your secrets, every time you let your guard down, you're playing the role of prey. And predators are always watching. Trust is not love. Trust is not loyalty. Trust is a weapon. And if you don't understand that, if you don't protect yourself, someone else will pick it up and use it against you. And when they do, don't cry. Don't ask why. Don't act surprised, because you gave them the blade yourself. That's why trust is weakness. It's not just the door you open. It's the chain you place around your own neck. It's the target you paint on your back. It's the soft skin you offer to the knife. The world doesn't respect it. The world doesn't honor it. The world uses it. And the sooner you see that, the sooner you'll stop being the victim. Remember this: every time you trust, you gamble with your soul, and the house always wins. The world doesn't run on truth. It never did. It runs on lies. Big ones, small ones, sweet ones, ugly ones. Lies aren't accidents. They're currency. They're traded, bought, sold, packaged, and delivered. And the funniest part, people don't just accept them. They pay for them. They beg for them. They build their lives on them. Look around. Every system you see, politics, business, religion, media, it's all built on lies. Politicians promise change, justice, freedom. Do they deliver? No. But they don't need to. They just need you to believe. Corporations sell happiness in a box, beauty in a bottle, strength in a pill. Do they care if it's real? No. They care if you trust them enough to buy it. Influencers, celebrities, leaders, they all live by the same law: sell the lie, keep the followers, milk the trust. And you fall for it. Every time you trust the commercial, you trust the speech, you trust the slogan, you trust the smile. You hand them your money, your time, your loyalty. And what do you get? Lies wrapped in pretty paper. Empty promises tied with shiny bows. Why does it work? Because trust is weakness, and lies are the business that feeds on it. The more you trust, the more you buy. The more you believe, the more they profit. Truth doesn't sell. Truth is ugly. Truth is harsh. Truth makes you uncomfortable. But lies taste sweet. Lies make you feel safe. Lies make you feel powerful, even when you're powerless. That's why lies will always be more profitable than truth. Take advertising. Every ad whispers the same thing. Trust us. We know what you need. will make you happy, beautiful, successful. They don't care if it's true. They care that you believe it long enough to click, to buy, to obey. And you do, over and over again, because it feels good to believe. Take politics. Leaders stand on stages and shout about honesty, integrity, loyalty to the people. Do you really think they mean it? Of course not. It's theater, a script rehearsed 1,000 times. They don't sell solutions, they sell hope. Hope is the most dangerous lie of all, because people will suffer endlessly as long as they believe hope is coming. That's how the game is played, not with truth, with lies that keep you calm, keep you waiting, keep you controlled. And religion, the biggest business of them all, promises of salvation, of eternal peace, of reward after suffering. Believe, obey, trust, and in the next life, it'll all pay off. But notice something: the bill always comes now, the reward never does. That's the trick, that's the lie. They sell you a dream you can never prove, and you pay with your devotion, your obedience, your life. It's everywhere. Lies aren't just common, they're the foundation. The world couldn't function on truth. If everyone told the truth tomorrow, civilization would collapse, markets would crash, families would shatter, relationships would end, governments would burn, because truth doesn't hold people together. Lies do. Lies are the glue of society, the blood of business, the script of every performance you call life. And what role do you play in this business? The consumer, the believer, the buyer of lies. You're not a victim, you're a customer. You choose the lies you like best. Some of you buy the lie of love, some buy the lie of success, some buy the lie of belonging. It doesn't matter which one, it's all the same transaction. You pay with trust, and you get betrayed. That's why the most successful people in the world aren't the ones who tell the truth. They're the best liars. They know what people want to hear. They know what mask to wear. They know what promises to make. And they know it doesn't have to be real. It just has to feel real. That's the secret. Reality is irrelevant. Perception is everything, and perception is built on lies. The truth may set you free, but lies will sell you dreams. Which do you think people prefer? That's why the business of lies will never die, because people want to be lied to. They crave it. They need it. They'd rather live in a sweet illusion than a bitter truth. And as long as that's true, the liars will keep winning. So don't be surprised when betrayal comes. Don't act shocked when leaders fail, when lovers cheat, when friends disappoint. It's not an accident, it's the system. Lies are the fuel, trust is the engine, betrayal is the outcome. And the world keeps spinning because nobody wants to admit it. Ask yourself, how many lies are you living on right now? How many people do you believe? How many promises are you clinging to? How many illusions are you feeding? And if tomorrow you discovered they were all lies, would you still want to live? Or would you break? That's the power of lies. They keep you alive, even as they destroy you. The business of lies doesn't need your permission. It just needs your trust. And you've been handing it over since the day you were born. Every ad you clicked, every leader you obeyed, every promise you believed, it's all part of the transaction. They sell, you buy. They lie, you pay. And the punchline: you already know it, deep down, you've always known. You feel it when the politician smiles. You sense it when the commercial runs. You hear it in the voice of the friend who swears loyalty. You know it's a lie, but you want to believe. You need to believe, because without lies, the world is too empty. Without lies, life is too cruel. Without lies, you'd be forced to face the truth, that nobody is real, that trust is weakness, and that betrayal is the only certainty. That's the business of lies, and business is always booming. Innocence dies the moment trust breaks. That's the truth no one wants to face. You're not born cold. You're not born suspicious. You're born soft, open, full of belief. You're born thinking the world is kind, that people are good, that promises mean something. But then life happens, the lies come, the betrayals cut, the masks slip, and with each wound a piece of innocence dies. The first time someone betrays you, it feels like the end of the world. Your chest acts, your stomach turns, your mind screams. How could they? That's innocence speaking, still clinging to the illusion that people should be honest, that love should be pure, that trust should mean loyalty. But when that illusion shatters, innocence bleeds out. It never returns. People call it growing up. But it's not growth, it's death. It's the funeral of who you used to be. That child who believed, who trusted without doubt, who thought words and actions were the same, dead. And in its place rises someone else, colder, harder, smarter. Someone who has looked betrayal in the eyes and lived to tell the story. That's why pain is so powerful. It's the executioner of innocence. Every scar you carry is a grave marker for the person you used to be. The smile you wore before betrayal, dead. The laughter before heartbreak, dead. The trust before lies, dead. Piece by piece, your innocence gets buried until nothing is left but the skeleton of who you once were. And here's the irony: society mourns innocence as if it's a tragedy. They say, don't lose your innocence. Don't let the world make you bitter. Stay pure, stay trusting, stay kind. They tell you this because innocence makes you easy to control. Innocence is weakness. It makes you soft. It makes you exploitable. And the world thrives on exploiting the innocent. That's why they call people who trust good. But good is just another word for blind. Innocence isn't beauty, it's bait. And predators circle bait. They smile at it, they praise it, and then they devour it. That's the cycle. That's why innocence never lasts. Because in a world built on masks and lies, innocence is nothing but an invitation to be destroyed. But here's where it gets interesting. Once innocence dies, you're dangerous because you stop believing in illusions. You stop expecting honesty. You stop assuming loyalty. You look at people, and instead of seeing angels, you see wolves. And once you see wolves, you stop acting like a sheep. That's the transformation. The death of innocence births strength. Think about it. The most dangerous people in history weren't the ones who stayed innocent. They were the ones who lost everything and stopped pretending. They were betrayed, broken, abandoned, and from that grave they rose sharper than ever. They didn't beg for kindness. They didn't pray for trust. They accepted the truth: the world is cruel, people are selfish, betrayal is certain, and that acceptance made them untouchable. That's why innocence has to die. Because as long as it lives, you'll keep playing the fool. You'll keep handing out your trust, believing lies, letting the knife in. Innocence keeps you weak. Its death frees you, and yet most people fear losing it. They cling to innocence like it's sacred, like it's something worth protecting. But what are they really protecting? Their own weakness, their own blindness, their own fantasy that the world is kinder than it is. They protect innocence because they don't want to face the truth. But the truth doesn't care what you want. The truth doesn't wait for your permission. The truth will find you. The betrayal will come. The mask will slip. The knife will fall. And when it does, your innocence will die, whether you like it or not. The real question isn't, can I keep my innocence? The real question is, what will I become when it dies? Will you crumble? Will you whine and cry about how unfair it is? Will you beg for the innocence you lost, clinging to a ghost? Or will you rise? Will you let that death forge you into something harder, sharper, stronger? Because here's the beauty hidden in the ugliness. Innocence must die for strength to be born. If you never lose it, you'll never grow teeth. You'll never see the truth. You'll never rise beyond the illusions they sold you. Innocence is comfortable, but it's a cage. Its death is painful, but it's freedom. And freedom is worth every scar. Remember the moment your innocence died. Remember the first betrayal, the first heartbreak, the first time someone lied straight to your face and you realized the world isn't what they told you it was. That moment didn't break you, it made you. It was the funeral of your old self and the birth of your real self. The self who doesn't fall for masks, the self who doesn't hand out trust like candy, the self who knows better. So stop mourning your innocence. Stop crying over it like it was something precious. It wasn't. It was weakness. Be glad it's dead. Celebrate its death. Because only in that grave did you find the truth. Only in that grave did you find your strength. The death of innocence isn't tragedy. It's transformation. It's the moment you stop being prey and start becoming predator. The moment you stop being blind and start seeing clearly. The moment you stop being soft and start becoming untouchable. So let innocence die. Don't fight it. Don't beg for it. Don't long for it. Let it rot. Let it burn. Let it bury itself deep where it belongs. Because from its ashes rises the version of you that the world can't play anymore. The version of you that doesn't fall for smiles, doesn't believe promises, doesn't bow to lies. The version of you that laughs at betrayal instead of crying over it, that's the real you. The one forged in loss, the one crowned by pain, the one made untouchable by fear. The death of innocence isn't the end, it's the beginning. And the sooner you accept it, the sooner you stop being a victim of lies and start being the master of truth. Loneliness. That's the word people fear more than death. They'll do anything to avoid it. They'll trust the wrong people. They'll cling to liars. They'll beg for love from those who don't deserve it. They'll sell their souls for company, just so they don't have to face themselves in the silence. And that is why most people will never be free. Freedom has a price, and that price is loneliness. When you stop trusting blindly, when you stop clinging to masks, when you stop swallowing lies just to feel safe, you lose people. Suddenly the circle grows smaller. The friends vanish, the lovers drift, the family recoils. Not because you changed, but because you stopped playing their game. You stopped feeding their illusions. You stopped being easy to control. And once you stop, they leave. That's when the silence hits. That's when the loneliness creeps in. That's when you sit alone with nothing but your thoughts and the echo of your own heartbeat. For most people, that silence is unbearable. It drives them mad. They run from it. They hide from it. They drown it in noise, in company, in distractions. Anything to avoid facing the reality that freedom often means being alone. But loneliness isn't a curse. It's a mirror. In that silence, you meet yourself. Not the mask you wear for others. Not the role you play in their lives. Just you. The raw, scarred, broken, honest version of you. And for the first time, you're forced to face what's inside. That's why people fear it, because facing yourself is the hardest battle of all. Yet that's where strength is born. Not in the crowd, not in the noise, not in the comfort of others. In the silence, in the solitude. In the nights when you sit alone and realize no one is coming to save you. That's when you save yourself. That's when you sharpen your mind, harden your heart, and build a backbone that doesn't bend for anyone. The crowd keeps you weak. Loneliness makes you strong. The crowd feeds you lies. Loneliness forces you to digest the truth. The crowd comforts you with illusions. Loneliness tears them apart and shows you reality. That's why loneliness is the price of freedom. Because the moment you step out of the crowd, the moment you reject their lies, you're left standing alone. But standing alone is power. It means no one controls you, no one manipulates you, no one owns your soul. You're not chained by their opinions, their expectations, their demands. You belong to yourself. And in that belonging, you discover the kind of strength no crowd can give you. Look at the world. Most people are terrified of being alone. That's why they settle for fake friends, toxic relationships, hollow families. They'd rather suffer lies than face silence. They'd rather keep wearing masks than feel the weight of solitude. They call it love, they call it loyalty, they call it family. But it's just fear of being left with themselves. Fear of discovering who they really are without the noise of others. But tell me, what's worse? Being alone with truth, or surrounded by lies? What's worse? Sitting in silence with your scars, or sitting in a crowd that's sharpening knives behind your back? Most people choose the crowd. I choose loneliness. Because loneliness may hurt, but lies kill. Loneliness may sting, but betrayal burns. Loneliness may feel heavy, but it's lighter than chains. Once you embrace it, loneliness becomes freedom. No more pretending. No more begging for validation. No more handing your trust to people who don't deserve it. You stand alone, yes, but you stand free. You answer to no one. You owe no one. You fear no one. And that's real power. Of course, the weak will mock you. They'll say, you're cold, you're bitter, you're isolated. But remember this, they laugh because they're scared. They laugh because they could never do it. They need the crowd to feel alive. You don't. You can sit in the silence, and instead of drowning, you breathe. That terrifies them. That makes you dangerous. Because once you master loneliness, no one can control you. Threats don't work. Manipulation doesn't work. Betrayal doesn't work. What can they take from someone who already stands alone? What can they destroy in someone who has already built themselves without relying on anyone else? That's why loneliness is power. That's why it's the price of freedom. The crowd tells you freedom is about doing what you want. That's another lie. Real freedom is being untouchable. Real freedom is having no leash, no chain, no cage. And you only get that when you stop fearing loneliness, when you stop begging for company, when you stop needing masks to surround you. Yes, loneliness hurts, but it's the kind of pain that builds, it forges, it shapes. It's not the weakness of trust, it's the strength of independence. And the day you embrace it is the day you stop being prey, the day you stop being controlled, the day you truly own yourself. So don't fear loneliness, fear dependence, fear weakness, fear being chained to lies just because you couldn't handle silence. Loneliness isn't the enemy, it's the test, the price you pay to rise above the lies, the cost of becoming free in a world built on betrayal. And once you've paid that price, once you've embraced the silence, once you've mastered the art of standing alone, nothing and no one can touch you again. Fear is the invisible hand pulling the strings of your life. It's not love that makes you obey. It's not loyalty that keeps you chained. It's fear, and the cruelest joke. Fear is the very reason you keep trusting people who don't deserve it. Think about it. Why do you trust liars? Why do you forgive traitors? Why do you hold on to relationships that bleed you dry? It's not because they've earned it, it's because you're scared. Scared of being alone, scared of rejection, scared of facing the truth that nobody is truly safe. Fear drives you to trust the untrustworthy, to believe the unbelievable, to cling to the very people who poison you. Fear is the oldest weapon in human history. Kings used it to control empires. Priests used it to control souls. Parents used it to control children. Politicians use it today to control nations. Fear whispers, if you don't obey, you'll lose. If you don't believe, you'll suffer. If you don't trust, you'll be alone. And people bow. They kneel, they surrender. Not because they want to, but because they're terrified of what happens if they don't. The world runs on fear. Entire systems are designed to exploit it. Why do you think advertisements always show you what you're missing? They don't sell products. They sell fear. Fear of being ugly. Fear of being poor. Fear of being unwanted. They show you the nightmare, then sell you the dream. And you buy it because fear makes you desperate. Why do you think politicians thrive on chaos? They don't want peace. Peace makes people think clearly. Chaos makes people scared. And when you're scared, you'll trust anyone who promises safety, even liars, even monsters. That's the game. Create fear, then sell trust as the solution. It's not leadership, it's manipulation. And it works every time. Fear is why you stay in toxic relationships. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of not being enough. So you swallow lies, you forgive betrayal. You call it love when it's really slavery. Fear is why you stay in jobs that crush your soul. Fear of poverty, fear of failure, fear of being irrelevant. So you trust bosses who exploit you, systems that trap you, promises that never come true. Fear is the leash, trust is the collar, and you wear both proudly as if it makes you safe. But you're not safe. You're chained, you're controlled, you're nothing but a puppet dancing to the strings of fear. Here's the truth. People don't trust because they're brave. They trust because they're scared. They tell themselves, I believe in them. I have faith. I know they won't hurt me. But deep down, it's fear whispering. If I don't trust, I'll be left with nothing. If I don't believe, I'll have to face the darkness alone. So they choose the lie. They choose the mask. They choose betrayal again and again, because fear makes the lie more comfortable than the truth. That's why fear is the most powerful tool in existence. It doesn't need chains or cages. It doesn't need guards or locks. It lives inside your head. It controls you from within. And the most terrifying part, you don't even realize it. You think you're making choices. You think you're being kind, loyal, loving. But really you're just afraid. Fear of death, fear of loss, fear of pain, fear of truth. These fears are programmed into you, and every manipulator in history has used them against you. They know you'll hand over your trust if they dangle your fear in front of you. They know you'll believe anything if it promises safety. They know you'll stay loyal to your own chains if you're convinced the alternative is worse. But here's the twist. Fear only controls those who bow to it. The moment you face it, the moment you stare into its eyes and stop flinching, it loses its power. That's why the most dangerous people aren't the fearless ones. Fearless is a myth. Everyone feels fear. The dangerous ones are those who don't let fear decide for them. The ones who laugh at it, the ones who let fear in but never let it drive. Once you do that, you see through the game. You see how fear makes people trust the wrong leaders, love the wrong people, follow the wrong paths. You see how every betrayal was rooted in fear, your fear of letting go, their fear of losing control. And once you see it, you're free. Because fear can't chain you if you've already accepted the worst. That's the real joke. Fear doesn't protect you. Fear enslaves you. Fear convinces you to kneel before liars and call it loyalty. Fear convinces you to swallow poison and call it love. Fear convinces you to stay in cages and call it safety. And the longer you bow to it, the more power it gains. But the day you rise, the day you stop trusting out of fear, everything changes. You stop giving your loyalty to manipulators. You stop clinging to masks. You stop buying the lies they sell. You stop being prey. Fear doesn't vanish, but it becomes fuel. Instead of chains, it becomes fire. Instead of weakness, it becomes strength. Fear is the tool behind trust, always has been. But once you see it, once you break it, once you stop letting fear dictate who you believe, you become untouchable. They told you distrust is ugly. They told you suspicion is toxic. They told you doubting people makes you bitter, paranoid, broken. Of course they told you that. Because if you start distrusting, you stop being useful to them. You stop being their puppet. You stop swallowing their lies. And once you stop, they lose control. That's the irony. Distrust isn't weakness. Distrust is power. It's the shield they don't want you to hold, the weapon they don't want you to sharpen. They call it paranoia because they're afraid of what happens when you finally open your eyes. Look at it clearly. Every betrayal you've suffered, every knife in your back, every lie you believed, what was the root? Trust. You trusted too much. You trusted too soon. You trusted the mask, the smile, the promise, and what did it give you? Scars, heartbreak, regret. Now imagine if you had distrusted. Imagine if you had questioned instead of obeying, doubted instead of believing. The knife would never have touched you. The lie would never have fooled you. The betrayal would never have broken you. Distrust would have saved you. Distrust is strength because it makes you alert. It keeps your eyes sharp, your guard high, your heart protected. When you distrust, you don't hand people the keys to your soul. You don't let them close enough to destroy you. You listen to their words, but you weigh their actions. You see the cracks in the mask before it slips. You notice the tremor in their voice, the flicker in their eyes, the shadow in their smile. You catch the lie while it's still warm on their tongue. That's power. The world says, but if you distrust everyone, you'll be alone. Good. Better alone than bleeding. Better alone than chained to liars. Better alone than surrounded by smiling faces waiting to stab you. Distrust might leave you isolated, but it also leaves you alive. And alive, you're dangerous. Think of the ones who rule, the ones who last. They weren't the ones who trusted blindly. They were the ones who questioned everything. They didn't bow to words. They didn't fall for masks. They didn't worship promises. They kept their distance. They guarded their hearts. They doubted until proof was undeniable. That's why they stood tall while others fell. Because distrust kept them untouchable. Distrust doesn't mean you hate everyone. It doesn't mean you close yourself off from the world. It means you refuse to be blind. You refuse to hand over power without proof. You refuse to gamble your soul on words. Distrust is not bitterness, it's intelligence. It's awareness. It's survival. And here's the twist: when you distrust, you control the game. Because everyone expects you to be soft, open, trusting. When you're not, they can't manipulate you. They can't predict you. They can't use you. They reveal themselves in frustration, their masks slipping, because you didn't fall for the performance. Distrust exposes them faster than any confession ever will. That's the beauty of it. Trust makes you prey. Distrust makes you predator. Trust makes you blind. Distrust makes you see. Trust makes you easy. Distrust makes you untouchable. The power of distrust is the power to walk through a world of liars and never be their victim again. Of course, the world will keep shaming you for it. They'll say you're cold, you're paranoid. You don't believe in people. But think, who benefits when you believe blindly? Them. Who loses when you doubt? Them. Who gets stronger when you stop trusting? You. That's why they call it ugly, because it's dangerous. because it takes their power away. The strongest words you can carry are these: I don't trust you, not because you're cruel, not because you hate, but because you know better, because you've seen the masks, you've felt the knives, you've buried your innocence, and you refuse to be fooled again. That refusal is freedom. That refusal is strength. That refusal is power. The power of distrust isn't about living in fear. It's about living in control. It's about choosing clarity over illusion, strength over weakness, freedom over chains. The moment you embrace it, you stop asking who you can trust and start asking how you can protect yourself. You stop waiting for people to prove loyalty and start preparing for their betrayal. And when it comes, you don't break. You are ready. You always are. That's the secret. People think distrust makes you paranoid. It doesn't. It makes you prepared. It makes you sharper, colder, smarter. It means betrayal doesn't surprise you. Lies don't shake you. Fear doesn't own you. It means you live with your eyes open while everyone else walks blindfolded, smiling at masks that will one day devour them. So no, distrust isn't poison. Distrust is the antidote, the cure to betrayal, the shield against lies, the weapon against manipulation. Trust makes you a victim. Distrust makes you a survivor. Trust makes you blind. Distrust gives you sight. Trust makes you weak. Distrust makes you strong, and strength is the only thing that matters in a world built on betrayal. Here it is, the final lesson, the one nobody wants to learn, but everybody is forced to. The lesson written in blood, carved in scars, whispered in betrayal. The truth they bury under fairy tales, under slogans, under lies. The truth they call cynicism, because they're terrified of it. The truth is simple: trusting people is the worst mistake you can make. Think about your life. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every knife in your back, it all started the same way. You trusted. You trusted someone to love you and they abandoned you. You trusted someone to protect you and they exploited you. You trusted someone to keep their word and they broke it without hesitation. Pain is not random. It has a root, and that root is always trust. They tell you trust builds relationships, but really, it destroys you. They say trust creates strength, but it only creates victims. They glorify it because it keeps you weak, controllable, predictable. Trust is the leash, betrayal is the yank, and you, if you still believe in it, are the dog dragged along. That's why the lesson hurts so much, because it forces you to admit that everything you thought was noble, everything you thought was pure, was nothing but poison in disguise. The final lesson is not about never being betrayed again. That will happen. People will always lie, always cheat, always stab, always mask. No, the lesson is about seeing it coming, about expecting it, about preparing so well that when it happens, you don't break anymore. You don't bleed the same, you don't collapse. You smile because you already knew the joke. You already knew trust was a trap, and you never gave them enough power to kill you with it. That's what wisdom is. Not clinging to illusions, but laughing at them. Not begging for loyalty, but expecting betrayal. Not living blind, but seeing through every mask. That's the strength nobody talks about, because if you gain it, you can't be controlled anymore. And a person who cannot be controlled is the most dangerous thing in the world. So yes, trust is the worst mistake. And the final lesson is, stop making it. Stop pretending it's noble to hand people the keys to your soul. Stop romanticizing loyalty in a world where everyone is selfish. Stop calling blindness love. Stop calling weakness kindness. Stop calling naivety virtue. Open your eyes. Guard your heart. Doubt everything. Because the moment you stop trusting blindly, you stop being their prey. The final lesson is not bitterness. It's clarity. It's not hate. It's strength. It's not paranoia. It's preparation. It's the moment you rise above the endless cycle of betrayal and realize you no longer need to be the victim. You no longer need to cry when they stab you because you already saw the knife in their hand. You no longer need to collapse when they lie because you never built your foundation on their words. The final lesson is freedom. Freedom from illusion. Freedom from chains. Freedom from the endless heartbreak of believing in people who don't deserve belief. It's the realization that you don't need their loyalty, their approval, their love to survive. You only need yourself. And once you stand on your own, once you stop giving your soul away like a gift, you discover a strength you never imagined. That strength terrifies people. They'll call you cold. They'll call you heartless. They'll call you broken. But what they really mean is this: you're no longer easy to use. You're no longer weak. You're no longer prey. They can't sell you lies. They can't control you with fear. They can't bind you with trust. And that makes you untouchable. So don't pity yourself for losing your innocence. Don't cry over the death of trust. Celebrate it, because every betrayal was a lesson. Every scar was a warning. Every loss was a teacher. And together, they carved you into someone who no longer bows, no longer begs, no longer bleeds for lies. That's the gift hidden inside the pain. That's the power born in the ashes of trust. The final lesson is this: trust is suicide. Distrust is survival. Trust is weakness. Distrust is strength. Trust is blindness. Distrust is sight. And once you understand that, once you embrace it fully, you are no longer their victim. You are their nightmare. Because now, when they smile, you see the mask. When they promise, you hear the lie. When they reach out their hand, you notice the blade. And instead of falling, instead of bleeding, you laugh. Because you already know the game. You already know the trick. And you've outgrown it. That's the final laugh. Not the laugh of a fool, but the laugh of someone who has finally learned. Someone who sees the world as it is, not as it pretends to be. Someone who cannot be broken anymore, because they refuse to make the only mistake that ever truly breaks people: trust. So remember this. Burn it into your bones. Every time you feel the urge to trust blindly, remind yourself, this is how they get me. Every time someone whispers promises, remind yourself, this is how they play me. Every time you're tempted to believe, remind yourself, this is the oldest trick, the deadliest trap, the cruelest joke. And then laugh. Laugh at the game. Laugh at the liars. Laugh at the masks. Laugh because you know the truth now and they don't. Laugh because while they keep playing the same old trick, you've already learned the final lesson. And the final lesson is this: trusting people is not just a mistake. It's the worst mistake. The one that kills you from the inside. The one that leaves scars you'll carry forever. The one that weakens you until you stop. The only way to rise, the only way to survive, the only way to win is to stop making it. That's the end. That's the truth. That's the lesson. Trust kills. Distrust saves. And once you understand that, you're untouchable.